It is time for all of us to no longer drive by freeway underpasses and to look by the Los Angeles River and the Tujunga Wash. From San Pedro all the way up to the San Fernando Valley, we see too many people who tonight as we go to bed, 21,000 of them have no bed of their own.
Being homeless is like you're dying.
They look at us as nomads. They look at us sometimes as perhaps animals, and many people are not. Most people are not.
I don't think you can live in LA and not feel that things are getting worse and worse each year.
I wouldn't have imagined myself being homeless, but I do know that it's possible to happen to anyone.
The great thing about the homeless situation right now is that we do know that permanent supportive housing is a model that works. You're ensuring that people have a permanent home and that they have the services they need attached to that housing.
This problem can be solved by our city coming together. We're leading, but if folks are there alongside us, I know we can end homelessness on the streets of LA.
Our homeless situation is as visible as it's ever been. We're seeing encampments and tents.
There's a reason why Skid Row is where Skid Row is, but it's not just there anymore, and that's only about 1 out of 5 homeless individuals in Los Angeles. 4 out of 5 are living in your community.
We have an estimated 300,000 people who are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. We also have an affordable housing crisis, and those two things are intersecting right now.
And you got the little toys here. Let's see. Oh, look at this one here. I'm sure people do judge people that are homeless if they're dirty. But a lot of times, you never know what the problem is.
There are homeless families and individuals who are in cars or living on the streets, and they work every day, believe it or not.
I had a good salary and I had good benefits and everything, and my schizophrenia symptoms started, and that was my downfall. I was homeless for 4.5 years.
Home, vehicle, had everything. I was a normal member of society. And right now, I'm no longer that.
Before I became homeless, I was in the field of transportation for 15 years. I lost my job. The bills became too much for me to try to break up and conquer.
Being homeless is a vicious cycle because you can't sleep, and when you apply for jobs, they want you to have a home address. And you need a phone to conduct business. And without all of that, it's hard to put the pieces together.
The misconception about homeless people is that they don't want better for their lives, they're comfortable being on the streets. Maybe that's true for a few, but that's not true for everyone.
We're paying to deal with this issue in one way or the other. Right now, that money is going into jails, emergency rooms.
Here in Los Angeles, we're trying to do something which is to have permanent housing with the services that people need to never return to the streets and to turn their lives around. It's a more expensive model in the short term, but it saves you a lot of money in the long term.
The reason why housing first is so important is it reduces the barriers and it doesn't require 100% sobriety or the things that often keep a person from feeling like they're ready to come indoors.
Once you're housed, then you realize that, it takes a lot of work to be homeless. It's physically and mentally draining.
Once we get folks off the streets and into housing, we're able to keep them housed. Our success rates are over 90% of getting people who've been on the streets stably housed for many, many years without falling back into the streets.
We know it works. We do have permanent supportive housing sites in Los Angeles, and through the federal government, we've been able to reduce veteran homelessness by 60%.
That's why permanent supportive housing is so attractive. Building beautiful housing, people shouldn't be scared about folks who used to be homeless living in their community. It's better than them living on the street in front of you.
Most of the homeless individuals that are in LA are from Los Angeles, and we need to treat them as our neighbors and see what solutions we can provide.
Having a home has, tremendous effect on my life. Yeah, I've become more positive, more outgoing, no drugs, and since I've been living at my apartment.
My life today is waking up in the morning and having coffee with 6 or 7 other women that live in my building, talking about each other's day.
With no help, the struggle is so intense, the pressure is so overwhelming, and how can you get somewhere if you don't know how to get there, or if you have no way to get there?
The thing about it is, if we don't have housing, it doesn't really matter what we do on the corner when we're inspiring them or they finally say yes. If we don't have an apartment to move them into, they're gonna end up right back there.
Permanent supportive housing, to me, has meant living. It's meant learning to trust. It's meant stabilizing. It's given me health. I have my doctors here. I have my psychiatrists, everything. I was doing nothing but dying out there on the streets. I have a life I'm proud of every day now.